What's up, everybody? It's Cheongseolmo. How we all doing today? For this week for content, I decided to go and sit down with a player from every single team that has made it into the playoffs at this point and get their thoughts about the season they had as a whole, who they are facing in the first round of playoffs, and how they think the season is going to end up going. First, I wanted to thank every team that did take part in this season. If you have been eliminated, I hope you guys all had a great time here in Blue Otter League Platinum and got to learn a lot from it. Even if you didn't make playoffs, I hope you had a great time, and I had fun writing content for you all and getting to cast your games. For the teams that have made it into the first round of playoffs or farther based on seeding, I want to congratulate all of you and wish you all good luck on the road to getting the coveted Blue Otter League Championship trophy. It will not be an easy path for any of these teams, but I can see a realistic world where anybody can be the one to come away with the finals. For the next part of this video, we will jump into the interviews. I hope you all get to enjoy them and get some insight on what every captain and or player filling in for their captain thought about their season as a whole. And welcome everybody to this week's content, getting ready to head into playoffs for Blue Otter League Platinum Division. I'm joined here by Coach Silent K of Conduit Kraken. Coach, how are we doing today?
We are doing well. We are ready to lose some LP in solo queue as we prepare for playoffs.
All right, awesome to hear that. So I'd like to first thank you for stepping in for Crow, as they did not want to partake in this interview, but I'm happy to be able to cover the team nonetheless. So my first question for you guys is, you were barely able to get into playoffs as the 5 seed thanks to Contingent Purple getting the win over Monkey Sharks. Was this the expectation that you guys had after how good you started the season, or is this kind of upsetting to end the regular season this way?
I would I would say it was definitely a bit of a rocky run in the very end. There was a close series against Monkeys Inc. If we win that, it's a different conversation slightly. Um, but even then, we were 4-3 eking into playoffs, and we would have lost tiebreakers at 4-3 to be the fifth seed out of 8 teams, or sixth seed out of 18. So I think it's just really stands to say how competitive the group was, right? Because we did take down Conduit, Flux as the first seeds. We did take down Monkey Sharks, who we barely edged out, as well. So I think it's fair to say that it was frustrating for us to limp a little bit into playoffs for sure. But it also I think it really stands to say how competitive that the our group has been.
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of capable teams, and I think on any given best of five, there's a real world where any one of those teams can take a game or a series in a best of five.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were definitely the closest group out of all of them. I think Piltover, obviously, like the top 3 teams going to playoffs. But with you guys, like you said, you had 6 teams all fighting to get into that playoff spot. So it was definitely a very interesting one to watch towards the end of the season, especially that last week, hoping for a few things to fall their way, and it did end up falling the Kraken's way. But with that, right before the end of the season, you guys did make a roster swap with bringing in Jesus Juice into the jungle and moving you up to the top lane. How do you feel that has improved the team, or is it still like you guys are in this learning curve of this being a big roster change going into playoffs?
I think it's still we're still a little bit in the learning curve moment, and I think you saw that in the 3 weeks we played with this lineup. Um, we've had a we've had some pretty dominant wins, and we had a pretty a pretty rough showing against Dorado, who, in my opinion, are very scary right now. Um, I would say that is definitely still we're trying to make sure that we are locked in for playoffs as everyone is, and I think that we'll see a lot on Wednesday. We're definitely doing some prep ahead of time. It's tough because Jesus Juice is just candidly he's a better jungler than I am, better at setting up ganks, more proactive at planning. Um, but it is also, to your point, it's a pretty big difference when your primary shot caller position is changed halfway through the season. Um, and it's definitely put us in situations where I think we are still have moments where we are not as coordinated or as ready for some of the macro decisions as we want to be, and that's no flame to anybody. It's just it's a change with these 5 players, right? We've only gotten a couple weeks of playing as a 5, and as you know, it takes time to meld, it takes time to gel, and we're just working hard to make sure that we're ready for week one of uh, play-ins.
Yeah, and with that, you guys are actually going up against Imperial Gaming, another team that was kind of just barely able to make their way into playoffs. So, looking at that team as a whole, do you think you guys are going to be able to match up well into them, or do you think it's going to be a close series? Personally, I think you guys should be able to win this one quite handedly. But I'm curious what your opinion on IG is as a team.
I if you asked me a couple weeks ago when things were going well, I'd feel a lot more confident. And again, I think that we have a strong squad who's capable of making a run. I mean, there's a number of people that have reached out to me on the side that have said, you are scary, and I think that comes down first and foremost to the fact that we have a crazy bot lane, right? The the Chrome Raven duo is a very strong, very scary bot lane that can play a myriad of styles and can absolutely take over any series. On the top side, I'm always going to prefer being a top side weak side tank player. Um, I've played against Noble and I've played against Katori both. I think that they've we've traded some games for sure. They play more aggressive top side than I would like to typically play, and jungle wise, mid lane wise, there's definitely I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I think this series is going to really be defined by how the mid jungle duos compete against each other. Exactly what lineup we see out of IG, I think, is a question as well. But I think it's fair to say that Paradigm and Azure Fire, there's a reason that they're staples in the scene. Noble's been around for a long time as well. Definitely is not someone I want to take lightly. I still feel good about our chances, especially because there are a couple things that we haven't necessarily played on stage that we've been either practicing or talking about that I think could be pretty effective. And to the point of we did have a roster swap, while it's had its ups and downs, there are things that we have not had to show because we have new players playing in roles, and there are picks that we have in the back pocket that I think we could pull out in a best of five situation. So personally, I'd pick us to go 3-1. I feel good about that, but we're definitely not taking them lightly or anything for granted. But for the story, if we do get the conduit matchup in quarters, that would be pretty hype for the record.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys do win that series or play against Conduit Flux in quarterfinals, you guys have already beaten them once of the season, all the way back in week number 1. We're able to take that 2-1 victory over them. So there is a world that you guys can go on this run if you guys do end up matching up against each other and playing the same exact way you did in that first week, being able to get that upset. But with that, my question is, out of every team that has made the playoffs here in the Plat Division, who is your favorite to win the whole thing?
I called this back in week 3, and it's Monkeys Knights. Godson and Fallen are a very, very solid lane. Across the map, they have good players. It's no disrespect to anyone else, but there's a reason they've dropped almost nothing. I think they've lost one game, maybe two. Um, they had the dominating run in regular season, and while I know that Group B was very competitive, or apologies, my division, the other division, while it's very clear there was three best teams, of those three best teams, there was one best team, in my opinion, and I think that Knights is just. It'll be really interesting to see. I think Steel Fan's a solid player topside, but I think that bot lane is just locked in and dialed in, and Wall Street obviously is a great mid laner, right? No disrespect meant whatsoever, but like that's a scary team. I would be shocked. And funny enough, they're gonna have probably SGP or Monkeys Inc, but I believe probably SGP and Dorado in their path. So they have a crazy difficult run to the finals, and I still think they're gonna take it all.
All right, awesome. So, Coach, I wanted to thank you for joining me here today for this interview before we get ready for the playoffs. But before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to give any shout outs to anybody or anything that you want to.
I do want to say thank you for your time. I want to say, shout outs to Conduit. This has been my first split putting with them, and the org as a whole has been incredibly supportive. Genetics to other teams stepping in to help us with scrims, helping us with in-house scrims, helping us with coaches. Like the org has been really great to play with. Really appreciate how awesome that's been and how helpful they've been, and to the BOL as a whole and all the teams in playoffs. I mean, it is so cool to do something like this as a hobby and be able to have something so exciting as you know, an amateur League of Legends competitive thing just going on like this that feels so hype. So thank you to BOL. Thank you for writing content and not flaming me too hard in your weekly summaries. And good luck to all teams.
All right, yeah, and with that, I want to wish you good luck in the playoffs here, especially in week number 1. But with that, that has been the interview here with Coach Sound K for Conduit Kraken. We're getting some more going in just a couple of minutes. Do not go anywhere. I am now joined by Ivar and Nightmare of Monkeys Constructions. Guys, how we doing today?
Doing well.
Doing well, doing well.
Awesome.
How are
Thank
you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for being here today. Really excited to be able to see what you guys are going to do with playoffs. But with that, you guys were able to get the victory over SG Proton last week to be able to secure yourself second seed and potentially avoid the Monkeys Knights until the finals. So I want to start with the question here for Nightmare. How big is that when you see what the Monkeys Knights was all season? Were you happy to get that second seed, or were you trying to maybe get that upset win in the second round of playoffs and kind of shake everything up?
Yeah, I think it was really important for us to move to this other bracket because that other bracket is a little rough. We didn't know that going in, obviously, but we also had something to prove against that team. I think that a lot of teams have underestimated us.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, I was kind of in, like, I thought you guys would be, like, a middle of the pack team, but you guys have definitely surpassed my expectations. I think it was mostly because the way the roster was oriented at the start of the season. I think now you guys are all playing the correct role. So now my question for Ivar is, why did you guys choose to have the roster the original way at the start of the season, and then what made you guys change it after, I believe it was, what, week 1 or week 2 you guys changed it up?
I don't even remember what the original roster was. The original like lineup. Do you remember, Nick? I think it was,
Yeah, I was jungle, and Okina wanted to play mid.
and then everything else was the same. No, who was top?
JJ.
JJ. Oh, I actually don't think I played in that game. I think Batman might have been playing support, or
That was
somebody else was.
No, I can tell you why it happened. It was because we had scrimmed all the way up to that point in our regular roles, and we wanted to try something.
Yeah.
And Okina had spun the idea, and I have some history in jungle, and JJ is a top laner, so
Okay.
we gave it a shot.
I think I blocked that whole week one out of my brain. I'm looking at the match history now. I remember this. Yeah, it was a little experiment gone wrong, but we brought it back.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely did really played a strong second half of the regular season. Especially you, Nightmare. I think like the last couple of weeks, you have really like stepped up and like put on the carry pants alongside of Gopamine, and you guys have just been like crushing anybody in your path. Like especially SG Proton, a team a lot of people thought was really high up, myself included. You guys, especially in that first game, it didn't even seem like it was a contest. I believe that you guys won game 1 and game 3, and they won game 2. But like your stat line over the last couple weeks, Nightmare, has been actually surprisingly super strong. So what has really put you in that position to feel like you have to start carrying more of these games? Just is it a confidence thing, or is it the team setting you up for success?
We made an adjustment and picked up a drafting coach, and I think that was probably the biggest swing for me. Like I tend to, if left on my own devices, pick just random stuff, and being put in the situation where the champion's being kind of soft selected for me, and it puts me in a scenario where I just have to pilot it. I don't have to worry about making sure that I chose something that was blended well with the team.
All right. And now for your first playoff match, that won't be happening next week. It's in 2 weeks, just because of the wild card matches. You guys are going to be going up against TPO Redemption. Ivar, how do you think you guys are going to be stacking up against that team? Being you haven't played them all this season, just because they were on the other side of the playoffs, the groups.
I think it's gonna be a good series. Obviously, I'm gonna say I think we're gonna win it, but I think it's gonna be very top side and bot lane focused series. I don't know if Nick, if you agree or not. I feel like mid's just gonna be a kind of a neutralizer from their side, and they're gonna kind of play for Finny and their top laner.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I think you're correct that it's going to be for top lane, but knowing how TPO Redemption plays, I got bad news for Nightmare. He's going to be getting a lot of attention from that mid-jungle duo they really like to get. Lord JK ahead and Idojin ahead, while Finny is, I feel like, kind of similar to your guys' bot lane, where Gopamine also feels the same way to me, where he likes to not hard smash in the lane, but likes to scale up into the game. Finny is very much of the same style of AD carry, so I think bot lane is going to be a snooze fest. So I think you should be picking some roaming champions for yourself and getting involved on the map, maybe helping out your mid laner here.
So I think that's the thing, right? Like I'm not gonna give too much away, but we've kind of figured out uh, our identity over the last couple of weeks of how we want to play the game as a team. And I think that if we play to that identity, um, we are going to be a really strong team going into playoffs. With that being said, we definitely have different play styles up our sleeves. So just because somebody is considered a carry top player or a scaling bot lane player doesn't mean that we can't just on the game 4 draft of a best of 5 fearless just switch it up, you know?
Yeah, very true. I think that's the fun part about playing in Fearless. If you get later in the series, it kind of really becomes a chess match of what you're going to be picking and what you're willing to play against in those games. And the strategy of, do we take away a champion early in the draft in case we do get to that game 4 to remove it from the champion pool? As somebody who's played 20 playoff games, it's very draining sometimes, but it's definitely a whole lot more fun than standard. But now my question for both of you guys is, given the playoff bracket, how it stands, who is your favorite to win the whole thing?
Us? I feel like that's a pretty straightforward question, right?
I mean,
What do you think, Nick?
Yes, I agree. The non-biased answer would be, I mean, the biased answer would be us, but I think Knights probably has the best chance if they get through Dorado.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. A Monkey's roster is winning it. That's what I'm going to leave it at.
All right, fair enough. Faith in the Monkeys, faith in themselves. You always want that heading into playoffs, especially against another pretty solid team from the other side of the regular season. But with that, we're going to be wrapping it up. I want to give you guys a chance. Any shout-outs that you want to be given?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the drafting coach Cora, I think, is doing a great job helping us get our stuff in order. Ivar for camping my lane. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I think everybody on the team really has been stepping up, you know. JJ's been learning a lot of new champions in the jungle. Gopamine's getting back into form, and then the addition of Cora helping us with draft. It's been a big plus for our team, so shout out to everybody.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. I want to wish you luck in the playoffs. Enjoy your week off. Spend it with your loved ones, with your family, and get some good scouting done. But I'm excited to see what happens between your match between you guys and TPO Redemption. I think it should be a really good one, and good luck in that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. I am joined now by Captain and AD carry of TPO Redemption, Finny. Finny, how we doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining me today. So, my first question is going to be, you guys were really hot during the regular season, fighting for that first seed, but with the way that the regular season ended for you guys, you fell all the way back to third seed. Do you feel like you should have gotten the first seed if you were playing with your original roster, or are you okay with the way you ended up getting placed?
I mean, finishing first or third kind of had the same thing. First, obviously, we would have gotten the fourth or fifth seed, but finishing third, it just allows us to dodge that other side of the bracket, which, I mean, on paper is a very insane side of the bracket. So first or third would have been okay with me, but I would have rather, finish with the first spot, just unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is an unfortunate circumstance with the subs having to come in and losing a couple bands. But, you're still in the playoffs, which is the important part, and you can still make that run. And luckily, even with the seeding you got, you do avoid that other side of the bracket that a lot of people are saying is definitely not the side you want to be on. It is a rough road over there for whoever's going to be making the finals. But, the roster that you guys have isn't the original one that you started the season with. You had a different mid laner at the start of the season. Lord JK subbed in for the first game, I believe, and then didn't play the second series and then played the third one. So what made you guys make that roster decision to have him be the full-time starting mid laner?
Lord JK's pull is like a lot more consistent, and he just was a stronger mid laner than Quinn at the time. So we felt like if we wanted to win at the time, we had to use Lord JK going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has worked wonders for you guys, being that the only 2 series that you lost are without him, and then with the E-sub of last week, fiasco. But with that, I mean, you guys have definitely shocked a lot of people this season with the roster that you came in with. Not a lot of people knew some of the people on the roster besides you, mostly Finny. But, how did the offseason feel when you guys were coming together as a team? Did you guys come together and feel like no matter what team you guys play against, you can win the whole thing? Or is it like, hey, this is a learning curve roster where we're going to play a season together, build up, and then look to stay a team further down the road instead of being a one and done season kind of thing?
So when we initially got together, I didn't really know many of the people. I didn't know Kittens, I didn't know Pele, and I didn't know Ito, and I also didn't know Quinn. But Quinn was like the one trying to put together the roster, and then we were looking for a strong jungler, and then I saw Pele, and they were looking for Team Channel, and then I think Pele found Ito, and then Kittens was already on the team. So, um, I didn't really expect much out of the season. I was just hoping that we could honestly just hit playoffs, being the fifth seed or whatever. But as we started to practice more and more, we actually got like really good together, and we have like a really good synergy. And I was hoping to keep the roster together for Titan, but Pele ranked out, Ito has other plans, and Kansas is on another team.
Yeah, that's fair. It's always the hope to keep a team together when you guys do so good, but sometimes people already have other stuff they're committed to or ranking out. That is the hope of these amateur leagues, that people aren't stuck in them forever and start to rank out and grow as a player. But your first round matchup next week is going to, or in 2 weeks to be specific, is going to be against Monkey's Constructions. How do you think you guys are going to match up into that team?
Monkey's Construction's looking pretty good right now. We scrimmed them like way back in like week 3, and we had like a split result. But going forward, they definitely got a lot stronger, and Nightmare's just one of the top, you know, 5 mids, even though he memes upon himself about it. But he's definitely strong. Obviously, they have Okino, and they have JJ, who just always seems to be strong. I don't really know much about their bot lane, but it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that matchup specifically. I think you guys all match up pretty well into each other. I feel like both the teams kind of have a similar play style, so I think it's going to be interesting to see which one is going to be able to come out on top of that one. But this season, Finney, you have really started to step up as a player in the later half of the season, having big care performances and everything. Is that something that you grew with the confidence and feel like you can carry the games, or is it because your team has been setting you up to be in those positions to be the hard carry for the team?
I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like as much as I'm memed upon, I've always had like strong performances, even when I was on a losing team. Even going back to 2 or 3 splits ago from Titan, I was the number 4 ADC behind 2-5, Kiora, and Dilly, and I was on a team that didn't even make playoffs. But this season, I know Pele obviously helped set up a lot for me to get kills, and as much as Kittens ints me, she also helps try to get me ahead and just let me carry the game.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Looking strong heading into playoffs with a tough matchup ahead of you guys. But before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs that you would like before we wrap up this interview portion.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Loki, the org owner of TPO. She she let me come back into TPO after unfortunate circumstances a little bit ago, and just let me do my thing and let me captain the team after Quinn's exit, and then obviously give my teammates a shout out for doing so well and letting me carry.
All right. Awesome. With that, I wanted to give you a thank you and wish you luck heading into the playoffs for your first round matchup against the Monkeys Constructions. Should be a good one. Definitely hoping that is the one we end up getting on the cast.
Thank you, thank you.
I am now joined by owner of TPO and one of the captains for TPO Reformed, Loki Bear. Loki, how we doing today?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great myself, just doing a lot of these interviews, getting ready for the playoffs we got ahead of us, and it's going to be a good one at that. But your team of TPO Redemption is going up against Monkeys Construction is in the first round that they will be playing. How do you think they're going to do against a team that has been on a surge lately?
Honestly, I have a lot of faith in these guys. These guys have been working really hard this split, and I believe that we've either played them or scrimmed them. So these guys have been doing the research, scrimming a lot, practicing. So I have full faith in them.
Yeah, I mean, the team of the Redemption side has been really good so far this season. Started off pretty strong with that first week 1 win, but then week 2, the original mid laner came back, and that didn't pan out exactly how you guys expected. But after that, you guys made the change to bring in Lord JK in the mid lane. So what was the process of you guys deciding to switch up the mid lane to potentially benefit the team that ended up working out?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like going into it, when I first met the original mid laner, I kind of figured it was not going to be a long-term thing, and with them just struggling to maintain their rank, and when they kind of dipped down to bronze, I'm like, well, this is gonna be a trial run to see how they do competitively, and it just didn't pan out. And I've known the Lord JK for a while, and I was like, you know what, he's a great mid laner, and the team just kind of all works well together. So, like, we should just go back to like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So.
Yeah, I mean, and sadly, with the last week of the regular season, you guys were playing for that first seed in the division, but
Yeah.
sadly, your top laner wasn't able to make it, and things didn't pan out exactly how you wanted, falling down to the third seed. But that means you guys do get to avoid the Monkeys Knights. A lot of players and teams are very scared to go up against them. So, are you happy with where you ended up as the third seed instead of getting the second seed and kind of being stuck on the same side as them, or were you hoping to maybe play them and kind of cause an upset and shake up everybody's expectations?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of would have liked to face them. We did 2-1 them in scrims. However, I was okay with wherever these guys land. They've kind of really surprised me at how well they work as a team. So if we had had Edo, or if the sub top laner that we originally had wasn't going to cost us 2 bans, I think that the games would have panned out a little bit differently. Not that Titan Duff is not wonderful. I think he's a great player. Um, I just think maybe having like someone that actually played top would have been better for seeding wise. But these guys are happy with where they ended, so I can only be supportive of their decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When I saw this team coming in, I didn't know a lot of the names on the roster besides Finney, so I had low
Yeah.
expectations for this team. But you guys have really excelled that, and really also shown a lot of teams that these are names that we should be watching out for. I know there's some question marks about the top laner of Ito June. A lot of people saying he's sus, but I mean, I have played against this guy before. I think he isn't sus. I think you could say a level 150 account is a questionable thing, but some people just start playing. So, I mean, he's been performing phenomenal this season. So, how did you guys end up finding such a solid top laner in Ito June?
So actually, I believe it was. I don't like it's been like a fight for this entire season to who found him, but I think it's between Pelly and Finney. One of them just found like a looking for team, and he just was like, "Yeah, I'll play for you guys." And I'll be honest with you, I looked at like all of his accounts and everything, and he is pretty consistent across all of his accounts. Which everyone's like, he's got 150, like level 150 account. He also has an alternate account that's 258. So like if you do your research across, he's a big flex player. He loves to play with his IRL friends who are much higher elo than he is. So he's learned a lot from them, and it's just shown. But he's a very consistent player,
Yeah,
and I was very very grateful for him this season. He's done wonderful. He's a great person to talk to. So honestly, I'm very thankful for him to be on the team this split.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been doing his job in the top lane, kind of being a pinpoint on the map that a lot of teams put focus to, which lets the rest of the map succeed in a way. But the mid jungle duo that you guys have of Lord JK and Pelly has
Yeah.
been working very well together this season. Seem like they play off each other phenomenally. So was Pelly like an original part of the roster that you guys found, or was he a later addition in comparison to some of the other players?
Pelly was, I'll be honest with you, I did not run this team when they first got together. This was ran by the original mid laner, and then when they kind of like dipped out, I kind of took the control back and brought them like back under the TPO Discord. But Pelly was the original jungler, and I have to tell you, he's like the playmaker. He is the shot caller. He's the communicator. He kind of like just runs the entire game, and he I don't know, like he's is just like the big playmaker. So he's the voice behind the entire team.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an important thing to have in that jungle position, as they do have the most impact on the map. But
Yeah.
now I'm going to ask you, obviously you expect your team to win the entire thing, but if you had to pick one team besides your own, who is your favorite to win the whole shebang that we have here in BOL?
Honestly, I would probably say SG.
All right, not going for the consensus answer, Monkeys Knights. So with that, why are you saying SG over the like doubted number one team of the Monkeys Knights?
I've seen Alf in action, and Alf's team is just very strong. I don't like downplay Knights at all. I just think that I honestly think that SG has the stronghold to win it all.
All right, that'll be an interesting matchup if that ends up happening. But
Mm-hmm.
looking forward, if you guys do get past Monkey's construction and like if everything goes to plan and it's Flux again, I believe you guys ended up losing to them 2-1 in the regular season. So how do you think you guys will be able to adapt in a full 5-game series with it being fearless against a team that you guys did lose to earlier in the year?
Are you referring to Flux?
Yeah, I can't remember if you guys beat them or not.
So that was a 2-0 for us because that was with our original mid laner.
Okay.
I think that if we had had JK and instead of Quinn, I think that would have been an easy win for us, if I'm being completely honest.
All right, so looking forward to the future. But you know, before we wrap this up here, I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs that you would like to give.
Yeah, actually, I want to give shout outs to obviously this entire team. You guys have been like an amazing group to work with. I look forward to working with you again. I know a lot of them are coming over to Titan with me. So that's gonna be exciting. All my people on IG, like I love you all dearly. Yeah, I mean that's like IG and I are pretty close, so that's really who I wanted to shout out.
All right, awesome. Thank you for joining me, Loki, and good luck to you and your team for this playoff run. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you guys in the finals if you guys are able to make it through the lighter side of the playoff bracket.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I am joined now by Wall Street of Monkeys Knights. Wall Street, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing so good, Chong.
Yeah, great to hear that, man. So you guys were able to cleanly lock up the first seed from the Piltover division, only dropping one game in the entire regular season. So I gotta ask the question that is on everybody's minds. Why did you guys drop a game to TPO Reformed?
Well, it wasn't for lack of trying. I think they had a plan and they executed on that pretty cleanly. They definitely got ahead of us early game, and maybe our draft was a little too scaling, and they punished that pretty well, I'd say.
All right, fair enough. But despite that, you guys have looked like the clear-cut best team we have in BOL Platinum Division. A lot of teams so far have been saying they're happy that they're on the other side of the bracket, avoiding the side that you're on, mostly because of all the teams that are on it. So, assuming everything goes to snuff, assumedly next week you guys would be playing against Dorado Lambda instead of Maelstrom Esports, as Dorado is probably the favorite in that matchup. So, are you expecting it to be Dorado, or do you think there is a world where Maelstrom can get that upset and you have to plan for them instead of Dorado?
I think on paper, I would probably expect Dorado to win. I think most people would probably agree with that assessment, but I wouldn't count Maelstrom out. I think there's a world where they could win, though. I think the probabilities are much more in Dorado's side.
All right. And last season, you made it to the finals on a different organization, sadly losing there. But this season, I think you have been playing way better than you did last year. I think this has been your best season so far. What has changed in your gameplay that has made you rise to be such a dominant force in the mid lane alongside the rest of your team?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think last season I had to play more of a carry. I had an excellent jungler who's now unfortunately yeeted, who helped facilitate me. But now I think my role on this team is more facilitating Godson, who is our star wonder boy on this team.
Yeah, I was gonna say Godson has also been playing extremely well. It feels like you and him are like this 1-2 punch of the team, where even if one of you gets behind, the other one is inevitably going to be a problem with this. But I'm more so curious about how this roster ended up forming. How did you get such well-known and touted names, especially with getting, I think, the perfect top laner to fit your guys' playstyle, with getting Steel Fan up in the top lane, who is just a rock up there. How did the whole recruitment process end up going for this team to form such a strong roster?
Well, I think everyone knows that Cooper's behind there pulling strings. He plans in centuries, so this team was destined to be hundreds of years ago, it would seem. But the only people that I really looked for was Bob. Bob was one person I told Cooper I really want on this team. Some people know him as the Glizzler, some people know him as Small News. Uh, I think he's one of the most undervalued players in the league, and I really wanted him on as a jungler.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys as a mid jungle duo is been very good so far this season. Especially with your play style of being able to not only facilitate Godson, but also be able to facilitate Small News when he is going for these aggressive junglers that he does like to pick most of the time. But looking at this bracket that is lined up, do you guys think you're gonna have an easy road to the finals, mostly because you playing somewhat familiar teams on the side of the bracket, or do you think it's going to be a tough challenge and you're not going to take any team lightly?
I think there's no guarantees. I think there's definitely a way we can win. I think a lot of people would say it's possible for us to win, but realistically, any game could be decided by how all five players are just feeling in the moment. And if one player's off, it messes up the whole team.
Yeah, very true. It really does come down to mental, especially in best of five fearless. Like I played 20 games in playoffs myself last season, and it is taxing, but it is a big thing of how you attack drafts and everything like that. And seeing you guys draft so far this season, I think you guys will have a good concept and understanding of how you're going to be wanting to draft throughout a potential full 5 game fearless series. But obviously, you are favoriting yourself to win the whole entire thing. But if you had to pick one other team, who would you say is your favorite to win all of BOL Platinum?
Oh, that's hard. I definitely think Dorado has a chance, but I also huge shout out to the boys Monkeys Construction and Monkeys Inc. Those are some crazy teams, and we've played against them quite a bit in house.
Yeah, I mean, monkeys are definitely a lot of people are favoring just in general. I think all of them are have the chance to make this run. Maybe less so monkeys Inc. because they got to run into you, and you guys kind of feel like you are Thanos in this playoffs. But anything could happen, like you said, in a 5 game playoff series. But I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs that you have for any players, teams, whatsoever you want to give them to.
Well, I definitely want to give the biggest shout out to our boy Godson. Now Godson has been not only just a player on the team, but so much more than that. I think what a lot of people don't realize is the value he adds goes beyond that of a player. He's also like a manager and also like a coach. It's rare to have a player on a team who understands the game at such a high level, maybe even diamond or higher, who can help be a coach on the team at the same time and let us all know what we could have done better every game.
All right, awesome. Yeah, Godson. I might I love the guy. I played with him before. I might troll him a little bit, but he is a very strong player. And alongside you, it just feels like you two are kind of the perfect duo to be playing with each other. If you get the right pieces around you, and you guys seem to have that. So I want to wish you luck in this playoffs run, and hopefully we'll be able to see you guys in the finals, or get to cast you along the way. It should be a fun playoff season to watch here in BOL Platinum Division. But with that, that is going to be wrapping up our interview here with Wall Street of Monkeys Knights. I am now joined by Paradigm Shift of Imperial Gaming. How we doing today, Paradigm?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, just doing all these interviews, getting ready for the playoffs. Should be a good one at that. And going into that, you guys were able to get the win last week over the High Council to get yourself the 5th seed. Were you guys confident going into that matchup, or were you guys a little bit worried that you might not make the playoffs if you lose this one?
Well, we actually got the 4th seed, but going into the matchup, I think we were feeling pretty good about it. It's always a little awkward because our top laner and our AD carry, Indigo and Azure, were both out of town at the same time. So we were playing, Noble Bart came back, even though we had to take a ban penalty, and then we also ended up having to use an E-sub in the jungle. But I think all the players that were playing were good players. So I think and the scrim the night before, we were feeling pretty good about it. So.
Yeah, and I mean, to go off that, you guys have actually gone through a whole lot of roster changes this season. Not the most that we've had in Platinum this season, but you guys were up there. So what was the, issue with getting the roster? Was it like people's just availability with real life, or was it just performance-based, or were you guys just looking for the correct roster to be able to possibly make a run in the playoffs?
I would say that most of the roster changes that we had throughout the majority of the season were just around availability. We had a couple of weeks where Swaggy wasn't able to play jungle for us because he was just out of town or had something going on. And then with Noble Bark kind of just taking a back seat on the roster, it's funny, we kind of ended up cannibalizing the TPO team in the same bracket, right? We got Hattori, Indigo, and then we also got Ziggy from that team, kind of on the substitute part of our roster. So they've been just able to kind of slot in whenever we needed.
Yeah, and I mean, it did work out for you guys in the end, able to get into the playoffs. But, I know you guys got a pretty rough draw of the bracket. I know Connor McCracken was a team a lot of people were high on coming into the season, but have been struggling over the past couple of weeks and going through some roster changes. So how do you think you guys are going to be playing up against a team of Connor McCracken?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the matchup. If I'm being totally honest, I think that we got this is the potential bracket run that I think is most possible for us to make the deepest possible run. Because if we ended up on the other side of the bracket, then even if we won on Wednesday against Dorado Lambda, who I think is a great team, and they would have been a big trouble just like Conduit will be. The next week, if we win on Wednesday, we'll have to play the other Conduit team for back-to-back Conduit. But if we ended up beating Dorado Lambda on the other side of the bracket, we would have to play Monkeys Knights. And I think that most teams' runs are just going to end right there. So I think that this side of the bracket gives us the highest possible chance of making it to finals.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got lucky to get that 4th seed to avoid the Monkeys Knights, being in the same group as them during the regular season. You had to play against them and want to avoid them at all costs. But, looking more at the start of the season, you came in to play mid lane, and Azure moved into the bot lane when it was supposed to be the other way around originally. So what was the process and decision-making to have you guys play in the current roles that you guys are playing instead of what was originally intended?
Well, we ended up going out in quarterfinals in Titan right before BOL, and we were feeling pretty decent about that. It was actually unfortunate we ended up losing to Conduit, the not the Kraken team, but the Tortuga team, and it could have gone either way. It could have been a 3-0 either way, to be honest. But going into it, we realized that as we were playing through the season, that Azure was playing a lot of 80 carries mid lane. So he was playing Zeri, he was playing Zaya mid lane, Corki, Kaisa, things like that. And the majority of the season, I ended up playing Zig, Xerath, Lux, Mel, bot lane. So it kind of came to be when Azure and I both subbed in for a team in the /all/ALL league, and we were just like, hey, I want to play mid lane, and he played 80 carry, and it ended up going pretty well in that league, and we were like, hey, let's give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, it did work out for the most part for you guys. You know, you guys had some inconsistent weeks, whether that be for roster issues or other stuff, but I mean, the roster has, for the most part, stayed the same with at least you, Azure, and Sid Bloodline all playing basically week in and week out. But I mean, I think you guys probably had higher hopes coming into the season, but still making it into the playoffs is a good thing. But obviously, besides your team to win it all, who is your favorite team to win the Platinum Division for BOL here?
I think Monkey's Knights is like the clear and far away favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that everybody else hasn't been saying that, but that is the consensus one, being the team that only lost one regular season game and going undefeated. It is a tough slate to try to match up into them, but looking at your series individually, kind of a Kraken has gone through roster swaps of their own with bringing in Jesus Juice in the jungle and moving Coach Silent K up to the top lane. How do you think that's going to affect them playing into you? Are you guys just not worried about that and going to stick to your own game plan and win through what you guys are good at and known for doing?
Yeah, I think I think our roster next week. I have no idea what we're gonna end up playing on Wednesday, um, but I think that we have good players on our team, and I'm not gonna say that they don't. I know Jesus Juice is a really good player. I've played against him before, but I definitely think that if like Ziggy's a good 80 carry if he plays 80 carry. If we end up running Azure 80 carry, I think that Azure is a very strong mechanical player, so I think that there's nothing wrong on that side. I'm pretty confident in my mid lane ability. I think that I've performed as well or better than most of the mids in the league. I've had a couple of bad games, Swain, Silas, but beyond that, I think I've been performing pretty well. I think Chrome alone is definitely one of those 80 carries that if he gets ahead, he can carry a game, and I think that often really determines um, who can go far in these kind of lower elo, right? Like plat through, or I would say emerald and below leagues, is if you can have somebody who can slot into that hyper carry role, which is why I think that Monkey's Knights, right, is probably the clear favorite. Kaiser, Godson is just like pretty clearly the best 80 carry in the league, and the team knows how to play for him really well. So I think if Kraken is able to play for their win con well enough, I think it'll be tough. But I think uh, I think we'll have to see going into it. We'll have to see who's playing on Wednesday.
Yeah, that always determines how the team is going to shape up and play out, depending on which 80 carry you have. If you have Azure, you can bust out that RE 80 carry again. If you have Ziggy, it'll be more of the traditional stuff. But before we wrap this one up here, I want to give you the opportunity to give any shoutouts that you would like to give to players or teams or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, of course, shout out to all my teammates that uh, I have played with or am currently playing with in this current split. Shout out to Swaggy, um, always one of my favorite players to play with. He just always has an incredible attitude, really great guy. Uh, Shout out to Rin, who he hasn't been able to play with IG because he's too good for us, so he ranked out a while ago. But when I played 80 carry for IG in the past, he was always my favorite support to play with. and shout out to everybody that we're gonna play against. We're gonna try and bring our A game, so make sure you do as well.
All right, love to hear it. So I want to wish you luck in these playoffs. It's going to be a tough run for you guys, but it is a doable one, like you said. So hopefully we'll get to see some of those matches, whether it's on stream or later on in the season when it comes down to finals, if you guys can make that run.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a chance that we have the hilarious double conduit into double monkeys teams run through finals, that'd be really funny. So hopefully we can make that work.
All right, hopefully that can happen. But with that, good luck, Paradigm, and hopefully we can see y'all later on in the season.
Yeah, thank you.
I am now joined by Sunrai of Dorado Gaming Lambda. Sunrai, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So, looking at how the season went for you guys, it started off a little rocky, and then you guys were able to pick it up later in the season with adding Gabe Leo to the roster and moving Efron down to the AD carry position. So, what was the process and idea of choosing to go in that direction with the team?
Yeah, so Efron and myself have had a lot of time played with Gabe and have had a lot of success playing with him. Knew that it was a pretty advantageous thing that he would be eligible and able to be kind of added to the roster. So just pound for pound, just thought it made us more competitive. But we also kind of had some precedent experience, some reference to know that we also function pretty well together, us three. So.
I mean, it has worked well for you guys. You guys were able to get a much-needed win over Conduit Flux in the last week of this season, especially with Gabe Leo having some pop-off games, able to get you guys into that playoff position to squeak in as the number 5 seed. This week, you'll be going up against Maelstrom Platinum. How do you think you guys are going to be doing up against a team like them?
I think we're confident we can take on just about anyone at this point. I think pound for pound, the expectation going into week 1 was that we were strong enough to justify people expecting us to make it all the way. And then obviously we had a bumpy start. And I think something that I know myself I'm learning, and then other players on the team are learning as well. I think this also includes Gabe, is that with a lot of expectations of players individually, I think what was happening a bit is people were trying to do too much with timers on the map and trying to strong arm themselves to do things. And the reality of the matter is, if you have a really good team, you kind of can play a bit more patiently and let the game kind of play itself. And I think those things have, especially for me, I think for other players too, it's kind of come to fruition. And I think all of us are exhibiting a bit more trust in each other and are kind of expecting that eventually we'll just be able to get wins because we don't have to be good players by strong arming ourselves into positions and just trying to 1v9 games, but just making sure we're all doing the right things, trusting each other, and that those will kind of pay dividends. So.
Yeah, and speaking on yourself exclusively, you are switching from support to jungle for this BOL season. What was the decision to have you move from your main role to a secondary role to be able to make a roster like this?
It's a few things. I think, I don't know, me personally, I like taking on new challenges, and I've won a split playing support and performed pretty well in that split, and so I feel pretty satisfied with that experience. I'm not really looking to continue to stack plat chips in that role, and so kind of the terms of that would be that I would go on to higher ranks, and in some contexts I've been able to play in Emerald leagues in the support role and in the jungle as well. But if I'm going to play and kind of put both feet in plat, I want to take on a new challenge, and that is kind of getting to the mountaintop in the jungle role. So that was, for me, that was a big part of it. But beyond that, it was just kind of how the roster shook out. Junglers can be kind of a commodity. They're hard to come by. And I've been inconsistent, but I also have high highs. And so I think there's enough people surrounding me to kind of trust that I just need some time to kind of find a way to get a bit more consistent and lean closer to those highs. And that's mostly been the case, as everyone's been kind of patient with that. But admittedly, to to the criticism. There's been times too where I'm just trying to do too much and I'm putting myself in an incredible hole. But I think as the season has gone on, these things have happened less and less again because I'm kind of realizing my burden isn't as heavy as I'm placing on myself. So I think the swap has been tough at first, but I think now it's good, and I'm pretty sure I can outperform any jungler in this league. I've always known that's a possibility, and I kind of was just getting in the way of myself, and I'm feeling a lot more confident now that that's going to be less of a challenge. So all those things kind of played a role into me taking on jungle.
Yeah, and like you said, it has been going good. You got the high highs, the low lows, but that is the learning curve of switching positions. And not like Platinum is strong this year. We have a lot of strong teams here, so it can be tough to role swap into a new role and have some tough matchups in your first couple of weeks. So after a rocky start, you guys were able to right the ship, like you were saying, and making it into the playoffs. But looking forward, if you guys do beat Maelstrom, you'll end up going against the Monkeys Knights, which is a lot of people's number one team to win it all. How do you think that matchup would go if you are able to make it there?
I think it'll be a pretty competitive series. I mean, I'll stick to what I said earlier in it. I think if we're playing on all cylinders and, we're keeping emotions in check and just trusting that we have a role, we perform the best we can within the confines of that and trust everything else around us to kind of function. I think we're going to beat Knights. I think we'll beat anybody else if that's kind of the pocket that we can stay in. And so I think what the question is if we can do that. I also think that anyone who thinks that beating us is the simple game plan is just like stacking the deck against Gabe is going to be met with a really unfortunate reality. And so they're welcome to try that as well. But I think there's a lot of confidence all around just within the individual players, and we're starting to finally figure out how to function together. And so we meet Maelstrom with a lot of confidence, and when we beat them, we'll run into Knights with a lot of confidence too.
Yeah, and to touch on your roster a little bit more, you guys made the decision to have Ultimice leave the team, whether it was his or yours. I'm not sure on the inside of that one, but you guys picked up Narva to come in and play top lane for you guys. He did make it to our championship last season playing with Wall Street, who is on Monkeys Knights now. But what has been like the big factor of you guys deciding to pick up Narva, who is a known top laner, who may not have been playing for like in competitive as much as you guys, but he has seemed to mesh with the team well. So what is the like bright spots of playing with somebody like him?
Yeah, so I think a lesson that can be learned, I think a lot of teams should consider, is that you can look for a lot of individual talent and stack it on paper, but if people are enjoying playing the game together, the chemistry is going to erode, and it's going to erode really quickly. And I think because everybody kind of wanted to jack up 25 shots like they were Kobe, and no one was willing to give deference to others, like it spread our resources really thin, and all it took was one thing to happen in like early mid game around maybe like a grubs fight or something that just blew a hole in the game we couldn't reconcile. And the really big thing with having Narva inserted is he probably collectively amongst us has the lowest ego, but he's functionally great with resources as well, and we trust him in that spot as well too. But it's paid a huge contribution to just the overall vibes and chemistry within the team when a lot of the communication we're getting from top side isn't frustration and cynicism and passive aggression, but it's remaining optimistic, talking about plays that are happening in the future. It kind of just sets the tone, and it shifts all of our kind of just the way that we communicate together and the way that we play the game, and it helps all of us have a lot more fun, and we're all performing a lot better when we're having fun. And in case anyone is curious about that specific part with Ultimice, it was his decision. We didn't push him out the door. Pretty quickly after that, he started yapping in Gen Chat, made a lot of complaints and excuses about a lot of things, some of which maybe were justifiable, a lot of which definitely weren't. But it kind of is an example of that thing, like when that kind of presence exists within a team. A lot of times, if it's just sowing a bunch of misery amongst everyone, it doesn't really matter how talented the players are. Everyone's miserable, no one's having fun, and so no one's performing. And the just personality shift and the change of characters in that role, I think has proved that there's value in that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be tough to have disagreements on gameplay style, and just everything can make it really rough to play such an important team game that we do play in League of Legends. It feels like every play is stacked on top of each other and leads to the next one. So if one person is too wrapped up on a previous play, it can make it very difficult. But it sounds like Narva has been the key factor to getting you guys back on track late in the season. But I know obviously you expect your team to win the championship, but if you had to pick another team beside yourself, who is your favorite to win BOL Platinum?
I do think Knights will be the toughest matchup for us, and if they're not going to be the ones, or if we're not going to be the ones walking away with the chip, then I would be unsurprised if it were them. I think they have players in key roles that, and this is a strength that we have too, because this is an addition with kind of Gabriel Leo's presence as well. But it sometimes is helpful that the players that perform the best with the most resources in their pocket and functionally know how to call a game when they are the win condition also have a really strong basis for macro. It kind of trims a lot of the fat around the edges and keeps the game playing a little bit more clean. And we think that's something that Knights has that's advantageous to them, similar to how Gabriel Leo kind of having some of those qualities has been advantageous to us. And then beyond that, they just have great players. And so I think that the expectation would be that if it's not us, then our next bet would be them.
All right. And any shout outs you would like to give?
Yeah, I mean, just I've enjoyed the split, even though it's been kind of bumpy so far, and so thankful for my teammates, the ones that have been there temporarily and gone, have come and gone as we've kind of had needs, and also have just need a lot of subs as well. Just a lot of flexibility with not just the starting five, whoever that may be for that respective week, but people that just have made themselves available. And so we may not be out of the woods with that either. We really don't know. And so if that's something that we'll continue to need, it's nice to know that they've been able to be available for that. And so just kind of thankful for everybody from the starters all the way to people who are just making themselves available for that as well. I appreciate you for all the slander of me in the jungle position, saying that I would have the hardest time in last week's matchup. And that guy vacuumed a bunch of gold on the map while I set his whole map on fire in both games and made them effectively unwinnable at 20 minutes. And so hope the narrative will change a little bit, but I also know that it's coming from a reasonable place because there's been some games where I've tried to do a lot and completely burn it all down. But I'm pretty sure that's behind me, and it's motivated me to be more accountable to those things. And so appreciate that it's given a topic to talk about. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Just thankful for my teammates. I think we have high expectations. I think those are reasonable. We're figuring some stuff out, and people should feel threatened by us, and not because of one player, but our team collectively.
Yeah, and with that, I do want to wish you good luck on this playoff run that you do have ahead of you. Hopefully, we will be able to stream one of your matches, whether it is in the second round or further down the road, if you are able to make it past the Monkeys Knights like we did touch on. But you guys can make it by yourselves with how you have been playing, but you do have the toughest road ahead of you, so good luck with that.
Yep, appreciate that.
I am now joined by Gav Dougie Fresh, the top laner for Conduit Flux. Gav, how we doing today?
Doing all right. No complaints. It's a nice little Sunday.
All right, good to hear that. So now, looking at the playoff bracket, you guys were able to get first seed despite losing last week to Dorado Lambda. So with the first seed, are you guys happy that you were able to hold on to that, or were you just happy as a team to be able to make it into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we would have liked to have finished the regular season a little stronger. Getting O2'd felt pretty bad, but Dorado's a good team. So was glad we were able to hold on the 1 seed and put them on the other side of the bracket, so we wouldn't have to see them till finals. That felt kind of nice. But overall, we've had a good season and happy to hold on to the 1 seed, I guess.
Yeah, and
to
I
answer
mean,
your question.
yeah, you guys were able to hold on to that seed, even with a lot of roster swaps you guys had. Not even swaps, but just a lot of roster substitutions throughout the weeks you had. Ammonarch not being able to play some weeks, so having to bring in trucks to fill in that support spot and move Panda to jungle. Some of those games did go well for you, some didn't. So are you hoping to have a more consistent roster heading into playoffs with hopefully not having to sub people in and out?
Yeah, consistency is always good. Amy, being a busy man that he is, did make it a little tough sometimes, but Trucks was a trooper sub. He was there whenever we needed him. It was awesome. And yeah, I mean, it kind of play the same even with we kind of played the same either way, so it didn't change a whole lot. But it's nice to have Amy back to draw those Lilia bands.
Yeah, it's always good having something that needs to be banned out every game, but with Fearless and being best of 5, hopefully it does get freed up if you guys do go to that 4th and 5th game. But looking at the playoff bracket again, if Conduit Kraken ends up winning, that will be your sister team advancing to face you guys in the quarterfinals. Are you guys hoping to get revenge for week number 1 when they were able to get that 2-1 victory over you, or will you just be happy to see any Conduit team win the championship?
No, I would prefer to. They won the civil battle, and if that happens, we plan on winning the civil war. You know.
All right, fair enough. But like you said, with Dorado facing off, getting that win over you guys and going to the other side of the bracket, as somebody who did get to play against them firsthand, do you think they have a chance to make the run on what a lot of people are considering the harder side of the playoff bracket?
I mean, I think that team is one of the reasons why it's being considered the harder side. And I mean, when you have a mid laner who has shown he's capable of being on a first place team in a higher division, he is able to carry that team. And I think that he was the biggest reason they beat us.
Yeah, Gabe did have a pop off couple of games against you guys. But now, with looking at everything the season as a whole, your team as a whole, I consider to not have an individual who stood out on the team, but you guys have a very strong macro sense of the game and are smart on how to play the map and make plays. You know, maybe not so much against Dorado, it was a little bit of a panic mode, but overall throughout the whole season, you guys have just had a strong macro game as a full 5-man unit. Is that how the team wants to play coming into the season, or is that just you guys realize that is your best avenue for victory?
So, I was on Retribution back in Titan, and then we played we played against Flux in Titan semis and knocked him out. Well, the Fenbach was leaving, and I ended up playing in a tryout game basically to see if they wanted to have me. Ended up doing well, and I guess from what they said, it plays the same way they had been playing. So we kind of took the core 4 that played together in Titan, and I kind of just slotted into how they wanted to play, so it made things a lot smoother, I think, because there wasn't really a transition period from when I joined the team to, like, we didn't have to struggle to figure it out. We kind of just figured out how we wanted to play. It was nice.
Yeah, and speaking of you more so personally as a player, the last time you did play in BOL Platinum, it did not go as great, but this season you really have shown up and grown a lot as a player. So what do you contribute that personal growth to? Is it like finding the right team and getting good coaching, or was it just practicing on your own via solo queue and just learning from your own mistakes and growing as a player?
Honestly, it's kind of from just playing bad. Just like you said, last time I was in Blue Water League Platinum here, it was terrible. I don't know, a lot of self reflection and like getting better myself, but it's also like talking to other people. Like Chai's been a big guy that's helped me out a ton, and it's just been kind of figuring out how I want to play and just learning how to actually do that and just getting better in competitive environment in general.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a testament to how you've looked this season. I think you have really shown people that you're not the slouch that a lot of people thought you were the last time you were in. You're really a solid top laner who can hold his own in a lot of these matchups. And it works well with the team that you have. Everybody just wanting to kind of play this slower paced game and win these crucial team fights by just having the smarter sense of the game state and the map. But if you had to like contribute like one player to be like the standout on your team and like a driving force, who would that be?
I would say probably Panda. He's kind of like the lead monkey for us. Like he kind of is the one that shows us. Like he kind of the rest of the four of us kind of get crazy, and sometimes he has to be the one that wrangles us in and like, hey, this is what we're doing. So I'd say Panda.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who has played with him in the past, he's pretty good at doing that. He had to wrangle some veteran names known around the league of like Nasian and Not So Dark, which isn't always the easiest
that's
thing to
tough.
do. Yeah, if people know, they know. But looking at the playoff bracket, obviously you expect your team to win it all. But if you had to select one other team to be the favorite to win the championship, what team is that?
Ooh, I mean, it's hard to bet against Alf because he just won in Titan, and I would say I'll cheat and say two. I'd say either Dorado or SG Proton.
All right, so definitely shaking it up from what a lot of people are considering the consensus team to win it all in Monkeys Knights. So, I mean, it's a valid argument. I mean, Dorado, I think, looks rather scary for being a 4 seed going into playoffs. And then, like you said, Alf just winning the championship in Titan. It's hard to bet against somebody like that. But it should be a fun playoff series and bracket regardless. But looking at your future matchup, it can be either IG or Conduit Kraken. Which team are you hoping to win that series to be able to play against in the next round?
I mean, for conduit content wise, you gotta say Kraken. That way we have have another civil war, the like fifth one in the last like couple months. Honestly, either of them would be tough. They're both good teams. They play in a little different ways. Noble Bark, if he's playing for IG, they could beat. I think they could beat anybody. The dude's a dog. And Kraken is very good at what they do. So either team will be tough. So I'm just worried about getting our team to the point where we can just win.
All right, and I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs to any players, coaches, whatnot, so feel free to give those away.
Yeah, shout out to Conduit for letting me be on the team. All the teammates, they're all great dudes. Shout out to my coach Chai, because he has unlocked the secret into me playing like a human. And shout out you, Chong, for this nice little interview.
Yeah, well, thank you. I tried something new for the content's sake, but gives a lot of good insight onto what people are expecting for the season and how they felt as a whole. But, I do want to wish you good luck in your playoff run, and hopefully we are able to get some of your games casted regardless, or be able to see you guys make that run into the finals. I think this is a highly contested playoff run. I think any team really does have a shot for it. So hopefully you guys are able to make that run and win that championship and bring Conduit. I believe it'd be their 5th title in a row in BOL Platinum, or 6th, something ridiculous like that.
Looks like it's got to be us or Kraken then.
All right. Well,
R.I.P. Crash Out.
Yeah, Rip Crash Out was a fun team in the last couple of weeks. Never lived up to the hype, but hopefully the guys had a fun time and were able to keep their mentality positive.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Gav, for joining me on this interview. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you do the same.
I am now joined by Charlie, the jungle and captain for Monkeys Inc. Charlie, how we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. Great to hear that. So looking at the playoff bracket with the win you guys had last week, the win you guys had last week, you were able to secure 2nd seed for yourself going into playoffs, meaning you're on the same side of the bracket as your sister's team is the Monkeys Knights. Are you worried about that potential matchup, or are you just looking for one matchup at a time?
I mean, obviously, if we got to Knights, it's a difficult matchup. They're undefeated, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, obviously, first off, we have Proton, and they're not. I mean, also a really good team. They have 2 losses on the season, and then two of our sister teams. So, I mean, we're just looking towards that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm curious how it feels slotting into a team that has played together for so long with Feathers, Grim Defier, and Fox Stepbro being around as a 3-man core for so long. How did it feel coming in to a team with them and like a super specific playstyle that they tend to go towards game in and game out?
I mean, obviously, like when you start off on that team, it's kind of an adjustment. especially the way with what way Fox plays. He's very specific. I mean, the mages, no one else does that. There's no other mage support player in the league. But like honestly, Grim and Feathers as a duo are just very stable all the time, so it kind of balances out with the more explosive play style of Fox. So it like obviously past the initial adjustment, I feel like it's gone pretty well. We're second in the group. Granted, I think Zon was worse than Piltover, but that's a different sort of idea.
Yeah.
So.
And to just touch on your Russ a little bit more, you guys have Wheeze in the mid lane. He used to be a top laner himself. How do you feel the transition from him playing top lane to mid lane for this team has gone this season or in other tournaments you guys have played in?
I think Wheeze is just a really good player, and so you put him kind of anywhere. He could kind of sub in anywhere. He obviously is like a born and bred top laner, and so I know in future splits he's going to go back to that. But really, it's more of a thing of like the original plans we had for the mid on this roster was someone who ended up not being eligible, so we just slotted in Wheeze and it's worked out perfectly. And I give all my kudos to him for going into an uncomfortable situation and honestly playing really well. I think he's been at the very least a top 5 mid this split. So.
Yeah, and now heading into playoffs, with it being full, fearless, and potential 5-game series, that's where you start to get some question marks about some of your teammates' champion pools, the likes of Feathers and Fox Step Row. Do you feel like that they're going to struggle if you guys go to a Game 5, or have they been practicing stuff that we haven't seen yet to be able to have stuff if a series does go later?
I think all of my teammates will be able to. One, I think Fox deals with enough bans to begin with, where like he's kind of gotten like throughout the season. I mean, he got a Leona game in. He's got a few of those other ones, like stuff that he's not super duper comfortable on. And so he's kind of been forced to expand that pool. But I think Feathers can. Feathers has been working on a few things, and we'll have enough to where if we're in a Game 5, we might not be like on our comfort because no one is, but we'll be able to play. Yeah, I definitely expect us to go the distance because almost every week we've gone to 3. Besides the first week and when we played Dorado and DPO. So yeah.
All right, fair enough. And now looking at your jungle matchup for your round 1 opponent, you're going to be going up against Sweevil in the jungle, who joined later in the season, but you so far this season have been a top 3 jungler in my opinion. Do you think you're going to struggle playing up into his playstyle, or do you think you're going to be fine as a team to be able to handle what Sweevil can bring to the team of SG Proton?
I mean I think he's shown himself to be a really good jungler throughout his brief stint on Proton, but I really kind of pride myself on not allowing other people to dictate, or we kind of pride ourselves as a team as not allowing other teams to dictate of how we play, and not knock us off our game. So I think we're well equipped to deal with, I mean, what dynamic he brings as opposed to. I think it was Titan Duff was their jungler earlier this season.
Correct.
So yeah, but I think we should be pretty good.
All right. So obviously, I know that you want your team to win the entire championship, but if you had to pick one other team that you think is going to win all of BOL Platinum, which team do you think it's going to be?
I mean it's kind of a homer pick, but I also don't even really think it is. It's probably Knights. I mean, they're undefeated. If Godson shows up to his playoff games, didn't do it in a different league, but that's a whole other sort of thing. But yeah, I think Knights is definitely the betting favorite as of right now.
All right, fair enough. I want to give you the opportunity here, Charlie, to give a couple of shout-outs to players, organizations, what have you, so feel free to fire those off.
Well, I mean, shout out to Monkeys. I mean, 3 teams in playoffs. Only one missed it, and they missed it by literally a Baron steal in the last game, which it unfortunate happens. Um, but these are I think this org's pretty well run. I mean, they've been around for forever. I've been a Monkey's lifer for a minute now, so shout out to them. Also, shout out to all my teammates. Shout out Weez. Shout out Feathers. Love those guys. So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right, awesome. I do want to wish you good luck on your playoff run. Hopefully, we're able to get some of your games casted in the future, or whether you make it to finals or not, you'll be casted there. But you guys do have a rough road ahead of you. But I think if you guys, stick to the style that you played all season, you can take off any team because they're just not practiced against the style that is Monkeys Inc.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm now joined by Yomi, the ADC for SG Proton. Yomi, how we doing tonight?
Feel pretty good, man. Excited for playoffs.
Yeah, it should be a good playoffs at that with the teams that managed to get in and where everybody wound up in the standings. You guys locked in the 3rd seed with your loss to Monkeys Construction last week, putting you at the same side of the bracket as Monkeys Knights. Were you as a team hoping to avoid them and be on the other side of the bracket, or are you looking forward to possibly playing them in semifinals and getting that upset victory?
I think it's just being realistic. Those guys haven't really dropped a game at all. They dropped like one match against this TPO team, I think, last week. But I mean, it's not a surprise to say we were trying to save them for finals. They're definitely going to be the toughest opposition in playoffs. I mean, Godson is crazy. Wall Street is really good. The rest of their team is super solid. But I mean, if you want to win, you have to be able to beat anybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you guys did not get that win against them in the regular season, but nobody else did either, so nothing to feel bad about. But going into playoffs a couple weeks prior, you guys made that role swap in the jungle to take Titan Duff out and bring a Sweevel in. Was that kind of the plan from the start of the season, or was it just a late season that Sweevel became available to come in and you guys thought it would be an upgrade to help the team win the championship?
Honestly, I kind of started off the season. I said I don't want to do any swaps if possible. This is the whole we replace a jungler every season. Me with Proton for the past couple of years, I was like, I really want to try to stick with the roster and improve and work on it. But after kind of some reviews and everything, we just kind of decided that Duff isn't the best fit for our team. I still think he's a really good player, just not what we need as a jungler. And Sweeble did have some availability change with his work and everything. So he's already got previous experience winning Titan with Alpha last split, and they're pretty good friends. Went ahead and brought him on. And I mean, I think it's definitely allowed us to play a little bit different, and it's given us more of a solid shot caller in the jungle. And I think I like the change, and it allows us to play a bit more different.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you're used to getting this thrown around at the SG team being there for a couple seasons now, but the terms frauds is always thrown around SG Proton in general. Do you think that is like an accurate statement, or do you think it's just become a meme at this point and just living on for no reason whatsoever?
I mean, I think it's pretty much a meme. I think it's very easy to meme on us because we have some very outspoken players, namely Alf and myself. We kind of yap a lot, so it's easy to pick on us when we lose. But I will say, like, the past couple of seasons have been very extenuating circumstances for when we lost in playoffs. Like, we haven't technically played a full playoff run with our actual roster. We finished the regular season like 2 splits ago when we were playing. We didn't have bread for a game, and then he was just having like IRL stuff with the tornado. So that playoff run was super scuffed when we lost to BDE. And then last split, we had to use an E-sub because our jungler had some IRL stuff come up that week. So we were playing with Aminarch for like the first time ever when we're going up against Dorado. And it's just like we haven't had an actual playoff series with a full roster that we've been able to practice with.
Yeah, and with that, for your first round matchup, you guys are going up against Monkeys Inc., who did find themselves coming in as the second seed out of the Zon division. I know a lot of people consensually believe that Piltover had like the three strongest teams in the whole division. So do you think that is true, or is Monkeys Inc. a team you guys are actually scared to go up against because they have such a predetermined play style, with Grimdefire and Fox Stepro being that bot lane duo that you have to go against?
I mean, also any team that we finished with the same, I think, exact record with them, 33 points, 5-2. Pretty sure we had the same standings, but I mean, they're a good team. I do think that Piltover was very top heavy, so it's kind of hard to determine the rest of the strength compared to Zon, which was a bit more mixed. I think like their top six was pretty competitive, but it was a very clear cut top three on our side. I will say through scrims, we have played against quite a few people from the other division, and they were pretty competitive games. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that we just are kind of like clear cut top three on Knights Construction Proton just better than everybody else in the league. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we are pretty even when it comes to like, I think Knights is fair enough the best team left and they're the team to beat, but anything after that, I'd say from like Construction, us, Flux Inc., TPO, like it's kind of super open for who can win. I wouldn't be shocked to see number one anybody from the other side to like make finals, and then between us and Inc., I do think it's going to be a really competitive match.
Yeah, it should be, and looking forward to that one. But, besides yourself being a real standout player this season on SG, coming off of not playing comp for a little while, you guys added Fenbach up into the top lane, and he has kind of been popping off this season. So how does it feel playing with a top laner that has such hard carry potential in some of these matchups?
Fenbach is actually just the GOAT. Like, he will blind whatever, get counterpicked into oblivion and be like, oh, this sucks. And then we look up top lane and he's up 30 CS and gets a solo kill somehow. Like, I don't know. The dude is just actually insane. He never complains about what we pick for him. He just plays whatever role we need him to play. If he needs to just turn on payphone and farm for 20 minutes on Orin and become unkillable and be like, hey guys, I know we're losing, but they just can't kill me. And then we roll over the rest of the game. Or if he needs to lock like a Gwen or Ambessa and just roll over the fights, he can really just play whatever we need. It's really reassuring to just have somebody that you know is not going to come out of lane 0 and 5 and you're running into an Aatrox with 10 kills. You just know top lane's always going to be super stable.
Yeah, and I mean, I know obviously you believe that you and the rest of the Proton boys are going to be winning the championship this season, but if you had to pick one other team besides yourself, who is the team that you think will be winning BOL Platinum?
I mean, it's hard. How can you say anybody else except Monkey Knights? It's Godson is, I mean, the best player in the league, probably going to win MVP. They have probably the second best mid laner in the league. I'm personally biased to my boy Alf. And then the rest of their team is just incredibly solid and just not a lot of weaknesses. They also have a clear game plan and how they play to get their team ahead, and they really know what to do, and they're good at it.
Yeah, I mean, there is a reason a lot of people have said it, but that's not the only name that has been thrown around, honestly. But it should be a fun playoff bracket, despite everybody believing in just one team more than the rest. But I want to give you the opportunity here to give any shout-outs, any players, coaches, whatever you feel like, so go ahead and rattle those off.
I will say, of course, shout out to my boy Alf. Hoping to finally break our BOL curse and win some series and make finals and hopefully win the chip. I've been teaming together for a while now. So definitely want to get that done. And then shout out to Elton, our coach. He's just always like helping us with draft and teaching us how to get better, not just at like comp, but just the game in general, and look at things and open our minds on how to play the game.
Yeah, and hopefully that does help you guys for this playoff run. I do want to wish you good luck in that, as you do have the harder side of the bracket that a lot of people are consensually agreeing upon. So this won't be an easy run, but it is doable for any team being able to make it this far in playoffs, so good luck with that.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. I am now joined by ADC and captain of Maelstrom Platinum, God of Chaos. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So, looking ahead at your first round matchup in this wildcard face-off, you'll be going up against Dorado Lambda, a very tough opponent to be drawing for the first round. How do you guys feel about having to face off against that team?
We know it's going to be a tough match, but we're getting some info in, scouting, and whatnot. But we're pretty confident we can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this matchup. I mean, you guys started off the season really hot, starting off 3-0, and then kind of having a rough end to the regular season. So, what ended up happening between that week 3, week 4 spot that kind of put you guys in this downward spiral to barely be able to squeak into playoffs?
Honestly, it's a combination of many things, but I think everyone was having a little hectic schedule on our team and whatnot. So we weren't able to get as many practices in and whatnot. And dude, also, I don't know if you knew, but like we lost our main support as well. And so while trying to find a new support for us, there's still like some sync issues to work on. But we're confident in due time we'll have worked on that.
Yeah, and I mean, even with having to find a new support in the time, yourself and 40 have still been performing the best on the team out of the full 5 that you do have. So, how do you go in and week out with this level of confidence, even with a shaky roster built around the rest of you guys to be performing so well?
I mean, honestly, part of it is just confidence. Like I might not be the most high ranked player in this tournament, but I played for a decent amount of time. I, put my games in, punch out, and so I just go into these games thinking I for sure I can do something. We can win. These are good games, winnable games.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have had relatively close series, even with not being able to get the full series win, especially like against higher up teams like SG Proton. You're able to push them to 3 games and be able to make that a competitive series that you guys could have won in the end. So hopefully, some more things end up falling your ways to be able to get those close victories that you are looking for, especially with us now heading into the best of 5 full fearless playoffs. As you team, as Maelstrom Esports, are you guys excited for the potential to go to those game 4, game 5s? Or are you just hoping to win them sooner rather than later so you don't have to go as deep into champion pools where you might not be as comfortable?
Honestly, I think at this point it's kind of our reputation. We kind of have like the longest games in the league. So I like to think of us as these like endurance kings. As the games go on, like both in length and in series, I think that's when we perform our best. It's when the stress is high and we gotta crunch the numbers, get things done. That's where we perform our best.
Yeah, and I mean, that is very true. Even at the start of the year when we first got to cast you guys, we saw like the average game time was 45 minutes, and we were like, we are in for a slugfest. Maelstrom always tends to go the longest in these games, and you guys end up making it work in the end. But now, obviously, you want yourself and your team to be able to win this championship. But if you had to pick one other team, who would you be favoriting to win all of BOL Platinum here?
Ooh, that is a tough question. I think personally, I really like the High Council. They're kind of like us, new roster and whatnot, trying to get things done. Yeah, we had a bit of banter in our games and whatnot. I think they're all great people, and I honestly wish them the best. I also think they kind of have like an underdog position at the moment, so I'd like to see them perform if it's not us.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking even more forward into future matchups that you guys do have, if you are able to get this win against Dorado Lambda, you have to go against Monkeys Knights, who are slated as the best team in the Platinum Division. How would you guys feel about facing off against them again, since you already had played them once in the regular season, being from the same division as them?
I think it's going to be a really tough game, but also like we've come to learn some stuff from that game we played, and I think from what we've discussed post game, I think we have a real chance at beating them going forward.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get to see that. I want to wish you and the rest of your team good luck in your playoff run, but now I want to give you the opportunity to give any shout-outs to players, organizations, what have you, so feel free to just let those go.
Yeah, of course. Shout out to Millstorm Esports for giving us this opportunity to compete. Shout out to Coach Badger, busy guy, but he always finds the time to get stuff done. And then also shout out to Fox King, even though they left, for rooting us on. And special shout out obviously to all my teammates for coming in week after week and just doing their best to try and get that dub.
All right, awesome, and good luck in your first round matchup this Wednesday going up against Dorado Lambda. Should be a good series, regardless of who ends up winning that one.
Thank you very much. We will do our best and try to not disappoint your expectations.